Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I am your host, Professor Sides, and for the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. This Major League Baseball episode covers every game scheduled to be played on Friday, September 23rd, 2022. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model for win probability using hitter and pitcher projections I've created in order to make one money line or run line pick on every game that's played 7 days a week, though there are no Sunday shows. Please note that these probabilities assume normal starting lineups and are using current rosters up to the time I started recording. What will be shown on the banners on screen are the thresholds for A or B grade plays so that you can make the best decisions possible based on current odds and the books you do business with. Also displayed will be what the model suggests the total should be. The goals for this episode? To share key information about today's games, give you a few things to think on, and explain why certain plays are being made in order for you to come up with picks that you are comfortable with. I never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with me or against me before investing your hard-earned money. As I'm always saying, take what you like and leave the rest. As I go through my plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so what I'll give you are loves, likes, and leans, that is A, B, and C grades, to indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. As always, please remember that good and bad variance will occur, so as much as I'd like to say it'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Very nervous right now. We've come up with a name for the model, and we're going to talk about it. It's coming up with the banners. Like I mentioned, the banners that we're going to have is the thresholds for the A grades and the B grade picks. Lines shift and you can shop around. And I'm getting a lot of sense from the comments that y'all are missing. Some of y'all got this. And so some of y'all I'm preaching to the choir, but some of y'all are missing the whole point, which is that price matters. And the model isn't right or wrong. The model is giving a win probability. And just because a team wins or loses doesn't make the model right or wrong. To assess that, you need to look at loads of data. And I'll provide these analyses on Twitter. I generally do a recap every, a couple times midseason. I'll do it at the end of the season, where the point is what we're trying to say is if the model says 55%, does that reasonably win 55% of the time? Well, one game doesn't tell you that because one game's a win or a loss, right? And I feel like a lot of people are just missing the point about this. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say if it actually does win 55% of the time in the long run, that indicates what price a wager should be made at. And sometimes the price doesn't move. So what I'm saying here the night before is the same price you can get all the way up to first pitch. We're all kind of on the same side, but sometimes it moves and that makes prices better or worse. Now, of course, we do have to keep in mind with baseball about starting lineup changes. So it tends to be a little bit different once starting lineups are announced. But in the time that it changes beyond that, I want us to make sure that we're always investing at the good prices. And that's the point that we're trying to make here. So I'm going to really try to start stressing that. So you'll see that in the banner, and you'll also see in the banner what the model suggests the total is. So I've got the model name in there. So I feel nervous saying it because I've always just used to saying the model. It feels a little bit cheesy, but we have named the model. It is the Sideline. Obviously, it's a play off my name, being last name Sides, and we're creating lines, totals as well. But so we've come up with Sideline as the name of the model, so you hear me refer to it as that. A little cheesy, but I feel like all the names for models are either cheesy or bad acronyms or whatever. So we're just going to roll with it. But before we get to the game, some reminders, please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Got a lot of college football content for you, several many hours, 3 different episodes. Thursday night was good. Model went 2-0. The Sideline, I got to start calling it that. I'm just going to the model. The Sideline went 2-0 on our Thursday picks. One of those was an A-grade play. One of them was the play of the day if you're over on Patreon. So a lot of good things there, a lot of good college football content if you're into that sort of stuff as well. But if you bet the horses, check out Horse Racing Today. You can find their stuff at horseracingtoday.net. They've got a team of 5 with over 125 years of combined experience in handicapping horse races. There's an angle they don't know or bias they can't identify. Check out their YouTube shows or the website. Those links are in the description. And as alluded to, we've got that Patreon page for those of you looking to support the show. Membership starts at just $3 per month. Benefits include things like that play of the day, access to our Discord group where we're chatting about line movements, plays we like, just the games in general. It's a good place. Having a lot of fun over there. We got ad-free shows, early access to projected spreads, all sorts of benefits over there if you're interested. Otherwise, we'll get right to it here on this Friday. Unfortunately, no day games, mainly because the Cubs are on the road, and that's where we're going to start off here. I'll play at the Pirates at 6:35 Eastern, first pitch. Weather-wise, we're really around 60 degrees for most of this game, and the winds will be blowing out in the 5 to 10 mile an hour range. So wind's going to help, temperature going to kind of balance that back out. Javier Assad versus Bryce Wilson, two pitchers that I'm not really a fan of. Assad has looked pretty solid in his 23 innings of work with regards to that 3.86 ERA, but the advanced metrics say his ERA should be closer to 5. That's about where he projects, just using partially the underlying metrics and partially the minor league data that we can pull. He gets a 118 rating, which is actually slightly worse than Bryce Wilson, who gets a 114 rating. Both of those guys being a full standard deviation below league average. Again, I'm not high on either one. Wilson's ERA at 6.07 is a little inflated based off how well he's pitched, but it's not by that much, as the underlying metrics say his ERA should be around 5. Bullpens are even worse. Cubs bullpen has been terrible. The Pirates bullpen has been terrible. It's just no good happening with the relievers in this game. Both offenses a little bit below average, but the offenses are closer to average than all of the pitching involved in this one. The sideline total here is 8.8, but the actual total is 8. And I tweeted about this. I've been mentioning some overs that or unders that I like on show. I'm going to start tracking those in the sheet. No grades on them, no A, B, or C. Just if I say I like the total, I'm going to track it. If I say I'm going to pass on the total, I'm going to pass on. I'm just going to kind of see how that goes. I feel like it's been doing pretty well. But I just want to go ahead and start seeing how that actually goes, if that's accurate. But I feel like the model has done really well with regards to totals as of late. And this is one here that indicates to go over the 8. So I'm going to play over that at minus 120. And the sideline says it should be 8.8. Just doesn't like any of the pitching involved in this game. And as you can see on the banner there, or if you're only on audio, you can see it in the Google sheet, the prices needed for the sideline to give it an A or a B grade. We're going to be on the Pirates here on this one at the way the prices are currently done, as we've got the sideline says the Pirates should be minus 113. The actual price that I'm seeing right now is Pirates minus 105. So minus 105, as you can see there, not quite good enough for an A grade. It gets a B grade for me currently. This one's an interesting one. As we get to September, I feel like here we start kind of deviating a little bit from what the model indicates. Maybe not completely, but a little bit. We can definitely up or drop picks just based off of things that we're seeing. The Pirates, I just don't have a lot of faith in. So even if I were able to get even money on the Pirates and the model would indicate that that's an A grade, I probably would still just give it a B grade because I don't want to be too invested in this Pirates team. But given the fact that basically everything is a wash in this game, the Cubs offense is a little better, but the game's in Pittsburgh, minus 105 seems like a fair price. And again, the sideline says the Pirates win this 53% of the time. So if that's accurate, even if it's just 52% of the time, a price like minus 105, which is what the Pirates are currently at, is a solid play. So it's Pirates B grade at minus 105 for me and over 8 at minus 120. 6:40 Eastern, the Nationals at the Marlins. This will be Josiah Gray and Braxton Garrett. Josiah Gray, not been great, really. 5.14 ERA in the underlying metrics. See, that's pretty accurate. Gets a 110 grade. Braxton Garrett, 3.68 ERA, and the underlying metrics, he's actually pitched a little bit better than that, gets an 89 grade. It's a massive edge with regards to the starting pitcher towards the Marlins. The Marlins relievers at this point grade out at pretty average, whereas the Nationals relievers are worse than average. And offensively, the model still thinks the Marlins offense is a little bit better than the Nationals. Maybe that's not true, but it's pretty close. Neither offense is very good. Marlins being at home. Sideline says it should be Marlins minus 169. There's no price out right now, but if we can get a price like minus 150 on the Marlins, that would be an A grade play on them. For the Nats, I'd have to be looking at a price like plus 190 for that to be an A grade. But if I was going to play the Nationals, given how low this total is projected to be, I would probably do it on the run line and assume that it's going to be a lower scoring game and maybe they can only lose by 1. If I was going to back the Marlins, it would be on the money line. Sideline says the total should be 7.1, so I would go under 7.5 if I could get it, but at 7, it would be a pass for me. Shouldn't be a lot of runs. The offenses aren't great. Relievers not great either, but there's enough decent starting pitching or good starting pitching and enough mediocre offenses that it should be a relatively low-scoring game. I like the Marlins to win, but it's all about the price. When a price comes out on this, I'll make an official pick and add it to the sheet and tweet about it as well. 6:40 Eastern, first pitch, Brewers at the Reds. Brewers getting it done for us here on Thursday night. They'll try it again here on Friday. Upper 60s to start, around 60 degrees to close. Winds will be blowing a little and a little across, but under 5 miles an hour, so not really much of an effect there. pair of lefties here is what we're projecting: Eric Lauer and Mike Minor. Lauer is pretty average, 3.91 ERA. The underlying metrics say it's not quite that good, that he's been actually a little bit worse and that just gotten a little bit lucky. Mike Minor, of course, below average, a 6.06 ERA. Gets a 113 grade. So again, below average, not worst pitcher in the league, but not very good either, and just hasn't been able to recapture that form he's had from recent seasons where he's been respectable. That's obviously what the Reds were hoping, and that hasn't really come true. Offensively, the Brewers' offense, of course, is just average, but it's still better than the Reds' offense, who's traded everyone away, and every time they have a decent hitter, it seems like he's hurt as well. And the Brewers' relievers, better than the Reds' relievers, but as we mentioned here, just gonna be on fumes until they can get a rest day. So that's a little bit of a concern there. The Brewers really need Lauer to go deep. So that's something to think about here in this game. If you like the Brewers, you probably like Lauer to go deep because those Brewers relievers just, I'm not sure how much gas they have left this weekend. At this point, there's no line. The sideline says it should be Brewers minus 140 with a total of 8.7, a fairly hitter-friendly ballpark there in Cincinnati. But I would not be going over a total of 9 just because it's chilly enough that I don't expect a lot of runs, and that Reds offense just isn't really capable of scoring a lot of runs these days. So I'd be looking for Brewers minus 125 or so would be an A-grade play. For the Reds, I would need more like plus 155 as indicated there on the screen. 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Braves at the Phillies. Phillies get it done for us with an A-grade play here on Thursday. Played them on the run line, but they won on the money line. I think I mentioned they had a shot to win that game. It was a low-scoring game. 1-0 is literally as low-scoring as it can be. Just talked about the conditions, and you saw how windy it was. There were a couple deep fly balls, and the wind really held them in. It was cold and windy blowing in. I'm always saying we got to really consider the weather here, and I feel like anybody who was looking over just forgot to look at the weather or wasn't listening to me talk about the weather because you had good pitching and massively pitcher-friendly weather. You're going to have a similar situation here on Friday night. It's going to be about 60 degrees for the totality of this game, maybe even mid-50s by the end of it, depending on how long it goes. And the winds will be blowing in from left center at over 10 miles an hour, which is why the sideline says the total should be 7.2. I'd love to go under 8 on this one. Right now, the total is 7.5. I'm not going to make that as an official recommendation to go under the 7.5. It would, if it was under 8, I would. 7.5, it probably is okay. But with Jake Odorizzi involved, I'm just a little hesitant to do that. But again, the conditions are right for an under, so it's not a bad idea. Again, Odorizzi, though, just a very average pitcher in this Phillies offense, well above average. Braves offense well above average too, but they're going to be going up against one of the best in the game in Aaron Nola. I don't really think I need to do a deep dive of these pitchers. You'll kind of know how I feel about them and the reality of them. Odorizzi's very average, just run-of-the-mill pitcher. Aaron Nola really good. And that's why the Phillies should be favored in this game. Otherwise, it's mostly a wash. The Braves relievers are better, but given the depth that Nola is going to give them, that's probably not going to really play out quite as much as it would in a different game. Sideline says that Phillies should be a minus 146 favorite in this one. The current price I'm seeing on the Phillies is minus 145, and thus that's good enough to get me to a B grade pick. As you can see on screen there, the model would indicate that it wants minus 143 for a B grade pick, but anytime I can back a guy like Aaron Nola at home, I feel confident in doing it. So it doesn't quite reach the model's threshold for a B grade. It falls just shy, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a B grade anyway. I like backing the Phillies here at a price like minus 145. As you can see on screen, if we could get minus 132, that would be an A grade play on the Phillies. And if you're backing the Braves, you just need some good plus odds. That's not what's happening right now. Model would want plus 150 basically to get to a B grade Braves pick. And right now the price I'm seeing is plus 134. If I was going to play the Braves, I'd probably play them on the run line, thinking it's going to be a lower scoring game. Kind of like we saw here on Thursday night, maybe not 1-0, maybe more like 3-2, 4-3, something like that. But if we're thinking low scoring, Braves on the run line, maybe not a bad look, but I'm just going to back the Phillies here and a good pitcher like Aaron Nola and assume they can get it done given the massive pitching advantage they will have in this one. 7:05 Eastern first pitch, Astros at the Orioles. Orioles get it done for us here on Thursday night. Another team that we backed on the run line, but if you took the plus odds on the money line, it would have worked out really well for you as they won 2-0. You'll see, and just make sure you catch this in case you haven't, in the teams tab of the Google Sheet, I have on the bottom, I put notes, and I'll indicate how I've adjusted the model to affect for hitters that might be injured. I've got Altuve as 50-50 for playing in this game. I really have no idea. It really seems completely up in the air if he's going to play, and he affects this about 1% to 2%, depending on if we think he can pitch hit or not, depending on how he's healing from having to be removed after being hit by a pitch. You also see in the notes there, I've got Julio Rodriguez out for Friday as well. Just want to mention that, given his injuries concerning. So you'll see those little notes like that in case there's anything happening. You need to make that adjustment. Altuve potentially out affects this one. It should be a similar setup to Thursday's game, but not quite as pitcher-friendly, partially because the pitchers involved. Obviously, when a guy like Verlander's involved, we expect a lower total, but partially because the winds aren't going to be quite as strong. You saw in that one, chilly temperatures, wind blowing in. Yesterday's sideline said 6.5, I believe, for this total, and was indicating, or 7 or something. It was indicating to go under the 7.5, which is out there for a while, and the total closed at 6.5. This one, not quite as much. Again, Verlander not involved, but still low 60s and winds blowing in. It's just that they'll be blowing in the 8 to 11 mile an hour range, not in the 12 to 15 mile an hour range like they were on Thursday. So projected total here is 7.8. The actual total is 7.5. It's a pass for me. I think it's pretty well priced. I'm not bold enough to go over in these conditions, especially if Altuve is not playing, and especially if you see sometimes these Astros bats just can kind of disappear as they did on Thursday night. Not bold enough to go under because the Astros bats can obviously get hot like we've seen before too. So I think it's a pretty well-priced total. Instead, I'm going to stick with the Orioles again, also on the run line at -135. It's an A-grade play for me on this one. I think the Orioles got a chance to win this game, and if not, I think they got a chance in another chilly, wind-blowing-in night to lose by 1. The odds at -135 on this run line are extremely enticing. Again, A-grade play for me there. And the actual price that the model thinks this should be is Astros -121. So if you're looking at this game, to me, it's Orioles or pass. The Astros are really overpriced right now in the -140 or -150 range. They're definitely the better team, but as you saw on Thursday, this Orioles team can win. If they were able to beat Justin Verlander, they can absolutely beat Jose Urquidy. Right now, the price of the Orioles is around an A-grade play. The current price I'm seeing are in the mid to low +130s, and it's just on screen. +134 is what the model needs for an A-grade money line play. I'm going to stick to the run line, though, for that A-grade play. Pitchers basically completely cancel each other out. They're both very average pitchers. Dean Krimmer's ERA on the season is better. The underlying metrics are a little bit better, but Urquidy projects to give a little bit more length and has a little bit more history behind him. So that's why the model gives them the exact same grade. Astros relievers better, but not by a ton. Astros bats are definitely better, so they should be favored, but not by the prices they are. That's why I'm on the Orioles. And again, passing on a total of 7.5 is, I think that's pretty well priced. 7 to 5 Eastern, first pitch, Red Sox at the Yankees. Red Sox getting it done for us on the run line here on Thursday night as an A-grade play. It'll be another chilly night here in New York. Upper 50s to start, mid 50s to close. We're back to some April type weather here at times, or at least approaching April type weather. And that means we're going to start seeing some really low scoring baseball games. Talk about Yankee Stadium. It's a park that can be pretty hitter-friendly in the summer when it's 90 degrees there, but it's a pretty pitcher-friendly ballpark when it's chilly. And this is a chilly night. Now, the wind will be blowing a little bit out to right field. Right now, it's projected not to be straight away to right, but kind of across out to right. So might want to check the total or check the winds on this one before you place your total bet, maybe closer to first pitch. If it's more blowing out truly to right, that's going to help the hitters. Across wouldn't do anything. Right now, I'm giving it kind of a little bit of a boost to hitters because depending on if you hit it right to power alley in right field, it's going to help it. But if you hit it down the line, it's just going to push it foul. And if you hit it to straightaway center field or something like that, it's going to push it to the deepest part of the park or two parts that are still deep. So it's not going to really help in some areas, but it might not. So I'm giving it a little bit of a boost based off this wind. But the wind, the reason I'm talking so much about the wind, up to 15 mile an hour wind. So could be really important to check exactly where the wind is blowing. But I'm going to go ahead right now and just lock in under 8 as a total recommendation. The sideline says it should be 7.3. Got a really good pitcher, obviously, in Garrett Cole going. A Yankees offense that's getting healthier and projects better, especially against a lefty. I think they'll score, but I'm not sure the Yankees are going to score much. I'm well aware of this whole the Red Sox have done well against Garrett Cole thing. I'm not buying into that. It's not a big enough sample size. Just from a purely statistical standpoint, there is no reason to look into 4 games, 5 games, 8 games, 10 games and assume that it actually means anything. The amount of data that we would need to actually say that there's some magical thing about these certain hitters that can hit Garrett Cole would be way more data than any of us would ever get. And if we ever did get it in the course of a career, probably enough fundamental things would be changing from these players that it wouldn't be relevant. So I understand the narrative. I know he struggled against the Red Sox, but I can find you literally 1,000 examples over the course of Major League history where a pitcher has struggled against a team for like 4 starts in a row and then thrown like a complete game shutout, or the other way where he's dominated the team 4 times and then got lit up. So I'm not buying it. I think it's a bunch of bull. And so I think that the Yankees are going to have success tonight. I think Cole's going to have success. I don't think the Yankees score. It's going to be really cold. A lot of the success they've had against Cole has been hitting home runs, and it's not really going to be a home run environment with that weather. So I don't think the Red Sox score. I think the Yankees can, but I don't think they can get to this total by themselves. So that's why I'm going under 8. And I'm going to have the Yankees on the money line at -196. Sideline says it should be 207, indicating basically that anything that starts with a 1 should be a B grade pick. If it drops all the way to -185, that would be an A grade pick. That's a full dime away from where it is right now. So at this price, I'm still comfortable with a B grade pick. I'm going to play it on the money line. The odds aren't steep enough for me to really go run line. It's not the craziest idea if you like the over, but given that the sideline likes the under and thinks it might be a more lower scoring affair, I don't want to get too cute with that run line. So I'm going to stick to the money line there at -196. 17 Eastern, first pitch, Blue Jays at the Rays. Finally black the Blue Jays, and that's what they do to me, give up 10 runs. So, I get what I get, I guess. This will be Alek Manoah and Jeffrey Springs is what we're projecting. Model still likes the Blue Jays against a lefty in Jeffrey Springs. Difference tonight, probably, hopefully, if you're a Blue Jays fan, is the fact that Alek Manoah is a much better pitcher than Jose Barrios. And I talked about it on yesterday's show. I said, Barrios is nothing special. I just thought he would have more success against the Rays bats, which are a little bit better than average, but not by a ton. And that was clearly wrong. Alek Manoah, though, obviously a very good pitcher, gets an 86 grade from the model, 2.40 ERA. And the underlying metrics, though, again, as I've been saying with him all year, not as favorable as at 2.40 ERA, but he's still a very good pitcher. And again, that's why he's a full standard deviation above league average, or better than league average. I mean, still a good pitcher, even if the underlying metrics say maybe not quite as good as the ERA would indicate. Spring, same thing, 2.45 ERA, but the advanced metrics say he's not that good. We've obviously had a lot of questions this year about how deep he's going to go. Turning it over to just an average set of relievers wouldn't go as well. And again, a lefty against the Blue Jays favors the Blue Jays. So sideline says it should be Blue Jays -151, no line right now. But if I could get -135 on the Blue Jays, that would be an A grade play. For the Rays, I would need more like +170 on the money line for that to be an A grade play. But if I'm backing the Rays, I'm definitely doing it on the run line, because but the thought process there would be that it would be a low scoring game and that they either win or lose by 1, and that you've got good odds of that cashing. Projected total, this one is 7.8. So I probably would look under 8 if I could get it. I probably would go over 7 if I could get it. 7.5 would be a pass. 8:05 Eastern, Guardians at the Rangers. Cody Morris versus John Gray. Morris projects as fairly average. It's a 102 rating from the model. He does have a 2.30 ERA that's only in 4 games. The underlying metrics say it could have been a lot worse than that. Obviously, John Gray, a good pitcher, better pitcher than Cody Morris. Model gives him an 88 rating, 3.80 ERA on the season. Underlying metrics say it should be about a half run better than that. That's, of course, the only area that the Rangers will have an edge. Their offense is pretty average. The Guardians' offense a little above average, and obviously the Guardians' relievers much better than the Rangers relievers. Model says this one should be basically a coin toss. It says Rangers -103. I'm going to take the Guardians at +103, but it's only a C grade pick. It's indicated on the screen there. Sideline says we need +105 before we get really excited about the Guardians. They can give that a B grade, and +115 really before we're getting it to an A grade. So the Guardians price right now, not good enough. Need some good plus odds here for fading John Gray. But I'm going to stick to the money line. Again, sideline says it's a coin toss game. So plus odds on a coin toss isn't a crazy idea. The Guardians have been really good to us lately. We'll see if that can hold. But there is a fear of going too strong against a pitcher like John Gray, who could win the game by himself, obviously. Total in this game is 8. Sideline says 7.7. It's not the craziest thing to go under. It's not what I'm officially recommending. And model indicates that under is better than over. The thing here is that there's a lot of ways this under can go wrong. There's a lot of ways it can go right. There's just a lot of variance in here because if the Guardians do what they should, which is short leash on Cody Morris 2 times through the lineup and don't let him face the top of that. The Rangers' issue is depth of their lineup. The top 3 hitters on that Rangers team are pretty good, and I don't want Cody Morris facing him 3 times. If they go to that really good bullpen, that's going to really help the under. But we've seen them just let starters keep going and get shelled that 3rd time through. So not knowing how they're going to play that could really affect the total. And the same thing with the Rangers. If John Gray's having a good start and can minimize how many innings the Rangers bullpen's going, I love the under. But if he gets hit around a little bit and the Rangers bullpen's prominently involved, there's going to be a lot of runs in this one. So at 8, it's really a pass for me on this total just because there's a lot of ways it can go awry in either direction that you're looking. 18 Eastern, first pitch Padres at the Rockies. The Rockies, a team that really good home numbers offensively, and then just laying some eggs here at home, getting shut out against the Giants bullpen game at Coors Field. Makes absolutely no sense. Finally starting to see some of the Rockies team here that I've been preaching about all season, that they aren't very good. It's just, at a time when I'm backing them. I talked about this before. This Rockies team is very frustrating. You just never know what you're going to get. And not drastically different from the Padres team, who looked great on Thursday afternoon, except for one pitch that turned into 4 runs, and that's how they lose to the Cardinals. So a pair of teams that you never know exactly what you're getting from. And this one, though, in Denver, it should be fairly warm to start, around 80 degrees, closing around 70 degrees. Winds be blowing in around 5 miles an hour. Sean Manaea and Ryan Feltner. Feltner's a below-average pitcher, 6.05 ERA. Now, the advanced metrics say it's not that bad, but he's not a very good pitcher. And obviously, the Rockies relievers aren't very good, and the Rockies bats aren't very good. Padres relievers can absolutely give up grand slams like we saw on Thursday, but their bats are pretty good. Sean Manaea is an interesting one to talk about, though. 5.18 ERA. Now, the underlying metrics say it's not that bad. Maldock gives him a 103 rating. He's really struggled on the stretch, but when you look into it, they skipped his start previously, and he came back and he had increased velocity, and he looked a little bit better. Not great, but better than he had been looking. Fairly competent. A competent pitcher should have some success against the Rockies. They did the same thing again this time, as they believe that his arm had just had a little bit of fatigue, and spacing him out can allow him to have good starts. Something to consider here, and gives me a little bit of optimism for Manaea in this start if they have truly found a way to get his arm going again, because how bad he was for that month, 2 month, whatever it was, stretch where he was just terrible was fairly inexplicable, because he's always been a streaky pitcher, but he's never been that bad for that long. His streaks have been dominant and mediocre, not terrible like he was. So maybe they've kind of figured out what the issue was, figured out a way around it. Obviously, pitching in Coors is not the best scenario, but at least they'll have a fresh arm in it. And there's not a lot of pitchers at this time of the year that can say that. I'm going to take the Padres here as my official pick. It's a B-grade pick at -153. And you'll see there on the screen, Sideline says that it needs -143 for it to be a B-grade pick. But I'm kind of, again, using a little bit of research here and saying, I think Manaea might do a little bit better than the model thinks. And we've seen of this Rockies offense of late. It's very possible that they've just kind of thrown in the towel, losing a little bit of focus. What they've done offensively here in this home series against the Giants is really just unexplainable. There is some variance. It could just be, bad variance, I think. But I mean, just the way they've looked, and then seeing some of the ways that they've made outs. One of the ones here on Thursday, getting doubled up on a line drive to center field, just inexplicable. So I'm comfortable fading the Rockies. And so even though the model would indicate that this should be a C grade play on the Padres, I'm going to bump it up personally to a B grade play and take that -153 on them and say I think they can go into Coors and get the job done. Sideline says the total should be 11.7. Actual total is 11.5, so it's a straight pass for me there. 8:10 Eastern, first pitch, Mariners at the Royals. Mariners getting their offense going again on Thursday. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm assuming Rodriguez is going to be out. His injury was called concerning. He's already missed 3 games from it recently. Really no reason for him to play this entire series. I would just send him to Seattle and keep him there the whole time. This game, they're going to have a little bit tougher of a chance to win against Brady Singer, but otherwise, they should be able to win Saturday and Sunday. They're almost assuredly in the playoffs. There's no reason for him to be hurt. They need him healthy for October, so I personally wouldn't be playing him. So I'm assuming he's out. That gives the Mariners offense a little bit of a ding and drops them to pretty league average. That's still better than the Royals offense. Royals' first season sweep of the series against the Twins, who, as I talked about previously, just look like they don't care at all about playing baseball right now. Marco Gonzalez versus Brady Singer. Again, Singer's a guy I've been talking a lot about, pitching really well. We've loved backing him. 3.07 ERA. Advanced metrics say maybe it should be a little higher, but not by much. Gets an 85 grade from the model. Marco Gonzalez, 4.01 ERA. That's deflated by pitching most of his games in a pitcher-friendly environment, as he gets a 104 rating from the model. Sideline says Mariners minus 108, says they should be slight road favorites, that their offense and their relievers are better than what the Royals offer. But with Brady Singer, they shouldn't be favored by that much. So if we can get plus odds in the Mariners, that's an A-grade play. If we can get plus 120 or greater on the Royals, that's an A-grade play. And the projected total for this one is 7.6. No line out yet, so no official pick, but again, I'll make one on that later. 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Tigers and the White Sox, fairly chilly in Chicago, low 60s to start, upper 50s to close. Winds will be blowing in at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Two slightly above average pitchers in Eduardo Rodriguez and Lucas Giolito. The former 4.35 ERA, advanced metric, that's pretty accurate. Giolito, a 5.01 ERA or 5.07 ERA, but has been talking about him with the advanced metrics, saying it should be actually in the upper threes. He's just had some bad luck with bunching his hits up earlier in the season and some really bad starts. But in general, if he keeps doing that, they're going to space out, and he's going to have better results than he's had. So a guy I'm comfortable backing, a guy who's again pitched a little bit better the last, 6-ish weeks, something like that. He's pitched better than he did the first chunk of the season. Obviously, the White Sox offense is better. Tigers offense, both sets of relievers are pretty solid. Total in this game is 7.5, but the sideline total is 6.3. This is an under for me. I'm just flat betting on these unders, but your exclusive content for listening to this show, this is my favorite under of the night at under 7.5. I love this one here. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's a chilly night, winds blowing in, two decent pitchers, two pitchers that I think are a little bit undervalued, that are not great, but they're solid. And I don't think people realize that I think people think they're bad, and they're actually okay pitchers. So I love this under here on this one. Sideline says White Sox minus 169. So my official pick is White Sox minus 165, as it hits exactly that threshold for it to be a B grade. Around minus 150 would be an A grade play on the White Sox, but it's not anywhere near there right now. If I was going to play the Tigers, I'd be playing them on the run line, but the money line price I would need to be thinking about them really is in the plus 170s or plus 180s. Otherwise, it's White Sox or pass around the prices that I'm seeing right now. 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Angels at the Twins. The aforementioned Twins I talk about look like they just do not care about baseball at this moment. They'll throw Joe Ryan against Shohei Ohtani. Joe Ryan, a slightly above average pitcher, 3.61 ERA. Underlying metrics aren't quite as favorable as that, which is why he only gets a 96 grade. Against Shohei Ohtani, who the model says is the second best pitcher in baseball at this point, 2.43 ERA, and the underlying metrics support that and say that is exactly how good he is. Obviously, the Twins relievers are better, and I think the Twins bats are better, but right now, if the Twins bats don't really care, that's kind of a problem. Sideline says minus 112 for the Twins, and so I've got the prices on screen there, but this is one where I'm not sure I would play the Twins at these prices, just given what I've seen from them this last week and really this whole month of September. Model would indicate minus 110 is a B grade, plus odds is an A grade on the Twins. But if I got plus odds on the Twins, I might play them, but it would probably be a B grade. Probably play the run line, hoping that we can get like a 2-1 Angels win or a 1-0 Angels win. In what looks like a low scoring game, you'll notice on screen their sideline says the total should be 5.9. It's going to be around mid-50s for this one in Minnesota. A chance of rain, and if that happens, of course, it's just going to delay the game further in the night as it gets cooler. Winds will be blowing in from right field at 10 to 15 miles an hour. It's going to be nasty weather. Even if it doesn't rain, it's going to be cold, wind blowing in, two very average offenses, a Twins offense that doesn't look like they care and might not be able to score off the Angels relievers. If it gets there, they're probably not going to score off Ohtani. And then you got a decent pitcher in Joe Ryan, a fly ball pitcher who is going to work out perfectly in this weather, and then a good set of Twins relievers. I don't see any runs being scored in this one. The model projecting 5.9. We haven't seen a number that low from its projections since April when we had some 40-degree days. Really love the under here. It's an under. I'd go under 6.5. I'd love to go under 7 if that pops up, assuming it is these two pitchers. I'd still go under 6.5. I'd actually even go under 6 on this one. I don't see many runs being scored whatsoever. And again, probably will have to be on the Twins on this one. Run line makes a lot of sense just because I don't expect many runs at all. So getting a run and a half offers a lot of value. But again, I'm going to need a good price to feel confident with this Twins team because I just don't like what I'm seeing from them right now whatsoever. So don't be surprised if the pick that I make on the Twins here, the grade I give it, isn't reflecting what the model would ask for just because my confidence with the Twins is basically at an all-time low. 9:40 Eastern first pitch. Giants at the Diamondbacks. Carlos Rodon versus Tommy Henry is what we're projecting here, a pair of lefties. Tommy Henry in his 7 outings, a 5.50 ERA in the underlying metrics say that's pretty accurate. So below average pitcher, model gives him a 112 grade. Carlos Rodon, 2.84 ERA. The advanced metrics say it actually should be about a quarter of a run better. You're looking at one of the better pitchers in baseball right there. A massive edge to the Giants starting pitcher-wise. But sideline only says the Giants should be a minus 116 favorites. Diamondbacks have been playing, fairly well this last month or so. Giants have been playing fairly well too, but the only place they have a real edge is the starting pitcher department. Relievers, they're all terrible. Offenses, they have a little bit of an edge. So the Giants should be favored, but not by a ton. Sideline says a total of 7.9. If I could get close to even money backing Carlos Rodon here, that'd be an A-grade play. I don't expect to see that, though. I expect this to be on the Diamondbacks. I expect it to be on the run line. And if the money line price is greater than plus 130, I think it's a play we have to make with a lot of confidence, grabbing that run and a half in a game that shouldn't have a ton of runs. And again, because at that projection there of 7.9. 9:40 Eastern first pitch, Mets at the A's. Typical night in Oakland here. Low 70s to start, upper 60s to close. Winds blowing out to start, dying down as the night goes along. Chris Bassett making his return to Oakland against Cole Irvin. Irvin gets an average grade from the rating, 3.79 ERA. That is a little deflated from pitching a lot of his games at Oakland, but a solid pitcher and a lefty, and the Mets are fairly left-handed heavy and switch hitter heavy. So the Mets offense projects to be barely better than average against a lefty as opposed to a righty where it projects to do much better. Chris Bassett, obviously, a solid pitcher, 3.32 ERA on the season, gets an 84 grade. Just a ho-hum good pitcher, guy you'd like to have in your rotation. Not great, but very good. Should obviously have no trouble keeping the A's offense down, although the A's scoring a lot of runs here lately. I don't think that's sustainable in that ballpark, but they've had a good little run, but it feels like it comes to an end. You thought it would have come to an end Thursday against George Kirby, and it didn't. Probably comes to an end here against Chris Bassett. Going back to a night game, the ball doesn't travel as well, so expect fewer runs. Sideline says Mets minus 191. The price on the Mets right now is about minus 215, so it's way too steep. If I could get prices that start with a 1 on the Mets, I would consider it, but at 215, it's way too high. So this is why I'm putting the numbers on the screen. I don't know how the numbers are going to move overnight, into the morning, into the day. If you could get a price at minus 190 on the Mets, fire away. Right now, though, that's not anywhere near where the price is. So right now, based off these prices, the A's make sense. I'm going to take them on the run line, though. Total in this game is 7, and I'm going to go official pick under 7. As the sideline says, it should be 6.7. I think we got that push protection on 7. I think that's about as high as this game goes, aside from extra innings, which doesn't have a huge probability of happening given the discrepancy between these two teams. The money line price right now I'm seeing on the A's is plus 196. That would be equivalent for a B grade, but I'm going to shift to the run line at minus 110. Again, give it a B grade there and just say at minus 110 odds, the A's could maybe pull the upset, but there's just a really good chance that they can lose this game by 1, given that I don't expect a lot of runs. So it's a B grade play for me on the A's run line at pretty solid odds there at minus 110 in a low scoring game that I also like the under in. And then wrapping us up 10:10 Eastern, first pitch, Cardinals at the Dodgers. Relatively warm for a night game in LA in September, on 80 degrees to start, mid-70s to close. Wind's blowing out, but should be under 5 miles per hour. A pair of lefties here, Jose Quintana versus Andrew Heaney. Quintana, 3.16 ERA. Heaney, a 2.66 ERA, but both pitchers have underlying metrics. Say their ERA should be in the low to mid-3s. I've got Heaney as a better pitcher by a little bit. Obviously, the Dodgers offense is better. Dodgers relievers are better. Dodgers at home, the model says they should be favored by a price of minus 158. So if we could get something like minus 150, that would be a B grade pick on the Dodgers. Something like minus 140 would be an A grade pick. If I was on the Cardinals, I'd be looking for about plus 160 for a B grade, plus 175 or so for an A grade. But I probably would take the Cardinals on the run line, as I wouldn't think they would win, but I do think they have a decent chance of at least losing by 1. Sideline says the total should be 8.6. So if we could see a 9, I'd be going under 9. If we see an 8, I'd go over 8. 8.5 would be a pass for this one. So that's all the plays I have right now. Not a lot of lines out, so a lot of picks to come later. Right now I just have the one A-grade play, and that's the Orioles on the run line at minus 135 at home against the Astros. But depending on what happens with overnight movements and during the day movements, I will either add money to picks. I will make more picks on these games. There might be some pitching changes on here as well. So I'll update the sheet accordingly and come up with new prices. And again, show those prices of what the model needs for A and B grade picks, update the totals as well. And any total pick that I recommend officially will also be shown in the sheet. So we'll start tracking those and see if they're doing as well as my perception is on those totals. And that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Check out the website if you haven't yet. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I will see you again tomorrow for more Major League Baseball betting content. And until then, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.